Hey.
Hi.
Hi.
I am so excited to have this wonderful call, this wonderful opportunity to speak with you, Nicole.
Me too.
For everyone, let me just introduce myself, and I'm going to introduce you and tell you why we're here today to talk about some really fun stuff, hormones and women's cycles and why we're so crazy sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. Yep.
So my name is Christine Bove, and I'm a Feng Shui expert and a Fashion Feng Shui Stylist. And I work with women in their homes and with their style. And when I'm with women, I'm always looking at their homes and, gosh, there's so much they're stressed about. There's so much that they can't make decisions about, whether it's clutter, whether it's organizing their home, whether it's just decorating or picking a picture for their, bedroom and, trying to make an environment that feels good. And when it comes to their wardrobe, they just don't really wear the clothes that honor who they are. And a lot of this stress is because they're trying to be someone who they're not. They're trying to fulfill either a partner's goal or maybe their family or some kind of outside society where they're trying to be someone that they're not. And a lot of the times we don't realize that we're doing that. We're not, realizing that we're taking on these false beliefs and we're adding more stress to our lives. We're actually putting the blocks physically, mentally in our lives. And through my work, I've seen it all. And the challenging part is that women don't honor themselves. They don't take time for themselves. And today, I want to talk about something that gets a lot of bad rep. It gets a lot of negativity, and that is our cycle.
Oh,
that
sure does.
is our PMS cycle. That is our periods, or maybe we're going through menopause or trying to get pregnant. And what happens is we have so much stress in our lives. We have so many environmental toxins from all these lotions and potions to make us look smaller and bigger and make our hair more beautiful, are actually doing more damage to us. And we need to simplify our lives. We need to get back to honoring the cycle, honoring our bodies, and demystify that belief that women are biages, at that time of the month, or she's on the rag, or stuff like that.
Yep.
And go back to really taking time for ourselves. So my guest today is Nicole. And Nicole is the founder of Healthy Elements. She is a health coach who her expertise is in women's menstrual cycles and creating healthy hormones for them. Balances, I should say. And I know this topic too well because my own struggle with PMS and my cycle, I really had to go figure that out all on my own. I changed my diet. I had to find supplements to work with my cramps and personal issues. But Nicole has made it easy for you ladies. She's got this whole process. Gosh, I wish I found you like 20 years ago because it would have been so amazing. And she has an amazing program that she can talk about later today called Fix Your Period. That's now available as home study program. And I'm inviting her to talk with me today about the easy ways that you can regain control of your life, balance out your hormones, and figure out how to reclaim your feminine vitality. So, Nicole, welcome.
Thank you.
A little bit about your journey with us, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. That was such an amazing introduction. Thanks. I know, it's so funny we said that. I wish I had found me 20 years ago as well. Would have saved a lot of heartache. So basically, I am Nicole, as everybody knows now, and my journey started a long time ago. It actually started when I was a teenager, and I had a major hormonal disruption happening, didn't know what was going on. I think it's pretty typical for a lot of young women back then and now. And essentially what was happening is that I was not getting my period. At least it was not regular. It wasn't coming when it was supposed to. And when it did come, it came with a vengeance. And I just didn't know what to do. So I went to the gynecologist and she put me on the pill and just sent me on my way. And I was on the pill for a number of years. And while it made my periods more manageable and they came every month, they also, it came with a price. And I ended up having issues from taking the pill Things like chronic yeast infections, all kinds of stuff that, we don't even know that would be, at least I didn't know was caused by the pill. Yeah, I was a little slow. So anyway, eventually I realized that I didn't want to be on the pill anymore. I really wanted to have a normal cycle. And so I went to see an acupuncturist, and he just opened up my whole world to just natural medicine and the things that I could try, I could do. And so that's essentially how the journey started into this whole world of natural women's health. That was 12 years ago. And I've never looked back. And so here I am now, 12 years later. I decided to go, I did a whole lot of other things. I was in TV production, and then my health didn't really get any better through doing that. So I decided I needed to really shake things up. And I ended up going to nutrition school and then going on to apprentice at a women's health center, and then continue my training with Dr. Sarah Gottfried, who is, she's a hormonal goddess, I would say. And so that's led me to here. I founded the company, The Healthy Elements, 2010, so about 3.5 years ago. And I really felt that if I could help every woman I could get my hands on, then my goal would be achieved. And that's what's led me to here.
Oh, that's a great story. And it's so great because you really know when you're talking to your clients how they're feeling, and you can relate to it because you've been on your own journey and you've seen what has worked and what hasn't worked.
Yes,
absolutely. So, how can we really start that component of where do we need to pull ourselves back when our hormones feel so out of whack? And I guess there's different times of the month. Like I know, like my work, sometimes I'm like, okay, I should be doing this at the beginning of the month and get all my writing and this done, because there are days when I just really need to sleep more or to rest more. And, it's so hard for us women because we live in a society that pushes us go, 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 and not recognize that we have to honor our cycles. So can you talk a little bit about honoring the cycle and the different phases that we go through?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that, and we've talked about this too before, but just the idea that we think that we're supposed to be exactly the same as we were, on day 15 of our cycle, that we will be on day 27 of our cycle. It's insane to think that, just because there is so much hormonal fluctuation happening throughout the monthly cycle. And if you start with day 1 of your cycle, which would be, the day that you get the first day of your period, usually that is the day that you have the least energy of your entire monthly cycle. So that would be technically a day of rest. And around the time, just in general, when you're on your period, you want to be resting as much as possible, and just taking, whether you can take a day off of work. I know that that's probably impossible for many people, but if you can, that's an amazing idea. Or just, shortening your day in some way, canceling any kind of any kind of outings that you have planned, or any kind of date, anything like that. Anything that's gonna make you even more tired. You want to just conserve your energy sorry about that. You want to just conserve your energy and be able to sort of go inwards. And I think that's what we don't do. There isn't a lot of self-reflection, I think, around this, this time of our periods. And so it would be, I think for most women, what they want to do is, come home from work, take a warm bath with some Epsom salts. Epsom salts are full of magnesium. They've got, they can relax your muscles, they calm you down. Magnesium is great for all of those things at that time of the cycle. And then, go to bed early, or even get a massage. I mean, all of these things are really great self-care tools to pull out of that toolbox during this time of your cycle. So that's really where, like I said, it's the quietest time of the cycle, and it's the best time to just take really good care of yourself. So that's the first one. I can keep going.
It's not the day that you decide to declutter your house, or the day that you're going to go shopping for new clothes. I know Dr. Christine Northup talked about that whatever shows up emotion, like for that day, that first day, whatever you're going through is a sign of something that hasn't been healed in your body. So
Yes.
if you're having cramps and you're having stuff and that emotional stuff. So when you said go deep, go within, I think even, I talk about clients that meditating in the morning is so important. And I talk about that if you don't have a meditating space, you have a blanket for meditating. So, maybe that day of your first period, you have almost like a first period kit.
Yes.
Day where you can maybe take out a blanket or take out some essential oils or your favorite book or something that day that celebrates or journal what emotions are coming up so you can actually feel whatever emotions haven't been healed in yourself.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. This time, like I said, this time of the month, you find, or at least if you start to pay attention, what happens is things come up. Oh, you talked about PMS and, we're labeled as the biatch all day, during that time, like the week before our period. And it really is actually just things that have come up for us that during our happier time of the cycle of our month around ovulation, that maybe didn't really bother us or didn't really resonate with us. And then as our cycle progresses gets closer to our period, then suddenly all those things start to come up and we remember them and maybe they did bother us and now we're reflecting on them. And that's typically what happens. It's not that suddenly we morph into this raging lunatic. It's more that we're just now much more aware of all the happenings of the last month. And I agree with you, what you said about reflecting and what Dr. Northrup says too. She's incredible and she has so much insight. And I agree that, pulling out your journal and writing about what's gone on for the last month and how, how things have changed since the beginning of your cycle. And it's just so amazing that we get to do that. Every single month we get a do-over. I love that aspect of the menstrual cycle.
And I think, too, a good point is that's not the day you pick the fight with your boyfriend or your husband or your children. It's like, remind yourself, and I think even letting them know, I just started my period, and listen, I just need some quiet time. And that way, then we demystify that, like, biatch image.
Totally.
But, people are like, oh, well, you can't be alone. It's like, I need some time alone. I need some time to be by myself. I find, particularly for me with my period, that I'm super sensitive. So anything that might have in the beginning of the month not bothered me, that day is like magnifying. And I also find that I pick up a lot of people's energy. I'm sensitive as it is and in my work, but that day it's like everything's magnified and it's like almost you like need to disconnect and remind yourself it's not yours and kind of let go of that energy.
Totally. Oh my goodness. Absolutely. I am the same way too. I think most women are. A lot of women do need to be alone for the first day of their period, and maybe even a day or two before, a day or two after, and that's perfectly fine. I think I think that for many women we feel that we're not allowed to ask for that, or we're not. Yeah, it's just there's something wrong with us for wanting these things. And again, it's such a good time to just get back in touch with you and what it is that you want and just asking for that. And I agree with what you said, like telling the man in your life or whoever's in your life that, you know what, I just need some space. Or this is what's happening. My boyfriend knows exactly what's going on in my cycle at all times. He's just like, okay, I know what's happening here. Do I need to hold you? I think that really helps. It just having, explaining to the person that you're in a relationship with what is going on, opens the door for compassion and understanding and not this, anger, because there is this dark side that tends to come out around this time of our cycle as well. And that's fine. I mean, that happens. I think getting in touch with your dark side is not a bad thing. We're all human beings. We can't be perfect all the time. We can't be all light and shiny all the time either. There's always going to be, like I said, it's a cyclical thing. We're like nature. And so again, that time of your cycle, that's when it comes out most. And just being aware of how you react to things, obviously it just helps you continue to grow.
Yeah, and then the more I study and the more I do my own self-improvement and everything, the more I become conscious of what you were just saying was, if I know what's going to trigger me, I know my, faults, then it also helps you to gain more control and think, okay, that's triggering me. I don't have to take it out on this person because it's really not them. It's a reflection coming back to me of something that I haven't dealt with.
Right.
I think in your period, it comes up to show you, hey, this is still stuff that you haven't worked with.
Yeah.
So if you found an hour, and if you had children, you had a play date for them, or that's when you put the movie, but that's the day you have movie day for them, and you can, let them go play or do something, or just, find at least an hour or two that day to make it really powerful.
I totally agree too. I mean, it could literally be when you wake up in the morning and you have, the first 5 to 15 minutes after you wake up, you just write in your journal, you write whatever comes up for you first. And, a lot of women wake up with total, like in anxiety and dread mode because they either haven't slept properly or they're beyond stressed by whatever's happening in their lives. And then, and that just leads, I mean, that's a whole other hormonal discussion, which we'll probably get into. But, the point is that I agree with you in that, if you're able to just be focused and have some sort of grounding morning routine, that I find helps tremendously. It helps me. If I don't do that, I'm just a scatterbrain idiot all day. It's just crazy. So I find that if I write something in my journal every morning and do a little meditation or whatever it is, something along those lines, make sure that I get like a good breakfast, then the rest of the day is usually smooth sailing. But if, you start your day and you haven't just had that little grounding routine, then I think that, again, it just leads to, it sort of spirals. I think the day just then spirals out of control, usually.
And I think, too, also, it's that day, whatever you're going to wear that day, I know sometimes that you want to be more relaxed, your body's so for some women, they don't have any cramps. For me, I've dealt with that. It's like, I just want to be more relaxed. So you kind of have, like, a certain wardrobe or, your pants are not those tight pants that day because you're feeling loaded or something. But, have those even in your clothes, even in your wardrobe. It's like something to wear that will make you feel even more peaceful and calm and comfortable that day.
Totally.
Especially if you have to go to work.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with that too. I think that, again, you should be, it's the whole idea of self-care, and you want to be as comfortable as possible just during that time of the month. And because it's for, I think about all the girls who have to really dress up for work and wear really restrictive clothing. I would think that would be I've never had to do that. So I would think that would be challenging. At least it would be for me. And so again, if there's any way to, just think about what it is that makes you feel the most comfortable, then that's what you should do during that time, for sure.
So when is the best time? Like, my clients want to go, organize their home and get rid of stuff. What time of the cycle would be good for that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love talking about this stuff. So we already talked about what time of the cycle is the perfect time to do nothing. Now we're going to talk about the busy times. So as you finish your period, you move into what they call the follicular phase. And this is a time, and the follicular phase is basically a time of growth and rejuvenation. And so what happens is, your follicles and your ovaries are growing in order to eventually release an egg during ovulation a week and a half, 2 weeks later. And so that is a great time to start to get bolder and do things, do more fun things. As you lead up to ovulation, you want to be out and about, you want to be busy. Exercise is really great around this time just because your body is able to handle more strenuous activity around this time of your cycle. And you'll also find that you want to go out, you want to socialize, you want to speak up at meetings at work, anything along those lines that has you being out and about and socializing with people is great for any time after your period all the way through ovulation. So that's like just after the middle of your cycle. And then like just using, oh, sorry, go ahead.
How many days is that? So
that's after
your cycle. Are you talking about from the last day of it, or do you go back to the first day?
So the first day is actually the first day of your period. And so usually periods last anywhere from 3 to 7 days, depending on each woman. And so the time after the end of your period to the time of ovulation. So that's usually 7 to 10 days. So that's the follicular phase. And so this is the time to start to rev up. And like I said, your brain skills, your language, everything is really great at that time of your cycle because testosterone and estrogen are building and building. And so testosterone, boosts your libido, which is a good thing. And it also boosts your confidence and things like that. So you'll find you're more driven, you're more focused. And then estrogen is kind of the same thing. They work hand in hand. And so, like I said, it's a good time to go on a date. Ask somebody out, be brave. It definitely makes you more brave. And so for women, you'll find that going, obviously for women, you're women, not men. So for your ladies, great time to, go shopping, make big decisions, life decisions, homework decisions. All of that would be around ovulation time. So that's around the middle of your cycle, anywhere from days 12 to 17. Those are really great days. And you'll find also with estrogen too, it makes you less hungry. So you find that you're like your thinnest around that time. So clothes look really good, your skin looks really good, your hair looks really good. All of these things, it's a great time of the cycle to do all of that stuff.
Yeah, so that's when you ask for a raise. That's when you ask your man for something. So that's at 7 to 10 days after your period. Those are the golden days to go shop for your home, to find new clothes, if you're thinnest that day, you definitely want to go shopping for clothes. You want to know those breakdowns. To organize your home, mm-hmm. make decisions, to buy a house, those big things, it really should be done.
Yeah.
So then, now that the 10 days over, what comes after when we start our menstruation?
No, we start. So that's your period, and then it's ovulation, and then after ovulation, we go into the luteal phase. And so the luteal phase is the phase that lasts from ovulation all the way until your next period. And so it's at first it's really great because you're sort of coming off the high of ovulation and all the good feelings. And then what happens is estrogen and testosterone start to dip. And then progesterone starts to rise. So progesterone goes kind of like that. It's like a big hill over the time of your luteal phase. And progesterone is a hormone that actually keeps you calm. It's the hormone that raises your body temperature. That's how if women are tracking their cycles, that would be what raises their temperature after ovulation happens. And so the estrogen, as it starts to build, you'll find, they call it the natural Valium because it's supposed to technically calm you down, help you sleep. It's a natural anti-anxiety hormone, which is a good thing. And so what happens is, like I said, estrogen and testosterone go down and then progesterone rises, and you'll find yourself wanting to wind down a bit as you get closer to your period. And then you'll also, like I said, want to, make more time to rest. This is a time for nesting, looking after your home, personal things, any kind of personal to-dos, just little things like, making dentist appointments, all that kind of stuff you want to do around this time just because you're not so focused on being social and out and about. You're more focused on you and you're going more inward as you prepare for your period.
And I think that's a good point because that helps women to not feel like, oh, I'm so... what's the word when we go in our cave kind of thing?
Introverted? Yeah, introverted? Is that? Yeah.
Introverted. I know, it's just recognizing, okay, now I need a little more quiet time. Now I need to, calm down, not go out as much. I need to, maybe bond with my family a little bit more with that. And it's really good if we recognize that instead of what most women do is beat themselves up because they feel forced to go out at that time. They feel forced to do things. So maybe if you have a lot of obligations, you only do 2 of them, and you rest before them, or you prepare yourself energetically before these events by, giving yourself a lot of meditation, maybe some affirmations about self-love because you're opening up to, being around a lot of people that you may not want to be around.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the thing, that's why I always say to try and plan, if you have a big event happening or something like that, plan it around ovulation time or just before ovulation so that, you really feel like being out and about. Whereas, at this time, especially that week before your period, you want to just, you find yourself wanting to just be away from people. I definitely do. Have you ever noticed that?
Yes, and sometimes I just want to be home, and then there's other times where I really do want to be out and about. And the more we talked about it, I'm like, yes, that makes so much sense.
I know, right?
And it's like if I understand this, then I'm not going to beat myself up. Then I don't go into that whole negative self-talk to me. It's like, oh, it's just my time of the month where it's more quiet time. And if you can get in control of this, maybe you have some suggestions on apps, but I actually found an app that actually you put in your date, your time, when you had your period. And it's so cool because you can go and you can see that calendar.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to track it that way. And definitely. Then you go, oh, okay, so, let's go out this week, or, this week I'll do this, or maybe I'll do my art and painting, this time of the month, because that's when you're most creative, especially if you're an artist or you're a writer. Mm-hmm. You want to make sure that you tap into that time and take total advantage of it. So you're not doing it in a period where you're only just going to beat yourself up because your creativity is not flowing.
Totally. I know. And actually around that time when when progesterone starts to rise and all the hubbub calms down, you actually do feel more creative. So it is a really good time to do all that stuff, to do artwork, to do anything that you deem to be creative in your world. And yeah, so it's good that you said that actually, because I didn't even think to say that. And what it's true, it's a great time. So that's the strength. You want to think of these things as not weaknesses, but strengths. You have different strengths at different times of the month, rather than, oh, I'm the worst person in the world at this time of the month, and I crave chocolate, and I'm this, and I'm that, and we just give ourselves such a hard time, and it doesn't really need to be that way.
Yeah, and I'd like to talk about the food aspect, but I just want to. Before we get there, I want to talk about getting pregnant, because I do have a lot of clients who I've helped get pregnant. One great client at 43, she got pregnant, and it was really, we really worked on it. I talked to her a lot about when women come to me and they want to get pregnant, they want to use feng shui to do that. I talk about the home. I talk about you don't vacuum under your bed if you want to disrupt the energy. But I do talk about setting up the home and changing it to be prepared for welcoming a baby in.
Right.
So even going to a baby store and maybe buying a little bit, not something big, maybe a rattle or magazine, or just being in that environment, it gets your energy flowing. But what is the best time to really women to get clear about getting pregnant and not stressing about it?
Oh, honey. Yeah, not stressing about it. That's the big one. Well, when you're asking when is the best time in our cycle, or for someone to think about being pregnant, or to want, to think about getting pregnant, is that what you mean?
What are those key days? Let's
the key days.
Yeah. A lot of discussion on what are the days that you get pregnant.
Yeah. So those basically it would be if you're trying to get pregnant. When the best times to have sex for that would be the 2 days before ovulation, and then the day of ovulation, and then maybe even the day after ovulation. So it's really it's a pretty short window, just because sperm can live in a woman's body for up to 5 days, and the egg will only survive for about 24 to 36 hours. So it's a very short window for women who are trying to get pregnant. But it's also a very long window for women who aren't. So it would be days, the 3 days before ovulation. Those are really the key days. Just because at that time, your cervical fluid, that's the other thing too, your cervical fluid changes throughout the month. And so at that time, it's called fertile cervical fluid because it's long and stringy, and it actually helps the passage of sperm. So it helps sperm get to the egg to fertilize it.
Good. And that's good to know if you're trying not to get pregnant.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And we protect those days.
Yeah, definitely. Especially, I use what they call the fertility awareness method. So I track my cervical fluid, and I also track my temperatures. And so for me, I know exactly when I'm ovulating, and I just, I either use protection or I just stay away from it. It's, depends. Where I'm at. But, so for women, that's what they need to do if they're not on the birth control pill, obviously.
So let's talk about the other thing that I see a lot of women come into, and that is they can't sleep. They struggle with sleeping. And when they come in from a feng shui perspective, I will look at how their bedroom is set up. I will make sure that there's no, a lot of times I see it, it's like there's the alarm clock, there's the iPad, there's the iPhone, there's the TV, there's clutter in the room. And we get through all that clutter and we make that bedroom, I mean, the bedroom should be serene. It's for romance and it's for, sleeping. Yeah. And they're challenged with their sleeping. And maybe I've taken care of all those electromagnetic fields and stuff like that, and they still can't sleep. How does the hormones come in contact with not sleeping?
That's a really great question. And I love your perspective too, because, I don't really, I think about the electronic aspect of it, but that's about it. I don't really coach more on all that stuff. So I think it's very cool that we're talking about all of this. From a hormonal perspective, usually the culprit is cortisol, and that's the stress hormone. It's everybody's enemy, usually. So essentially what happens is we experience stress, and then our adrenal glands, which are two little glands that are sitting on top of our kidneys, they release cortisol. Cortisol is released in response to any kind of stressful situation that we experience. The problem is that we are in a constant state of stress for the most part. Most women or most human beings are. And so what happens is our adrenals are just producing cortisol all the time in order to meet that demand. Cortisol is great in the short term. It helps you to get up and go. It gives you that drive. It gives you the energy to get through a stressful situation, to get through your work day, whatever it is, to get through the traffic. But the problem is that if we're doing this, we're experiencing this kind of stress and it's unrelenting over time, we end up with adrenals that are just producing a lot of cortisol, and eventually they burn out. And when you burn out, you're going to know you've burnt out. There's a lot of things that happen, but one thing in particular is the inability to sleep or complete exhaustion. So there's varying stages of what we call adrenal fatigue, and that first stage is alarm, where your adrenals are just producing a ton of cortisol. And so at that stage, that would be the time where a woman might feel that she can't fall asleep very well. It takes her a long time to fall asleep. She may wake up in the middle of the night, like 2 or 3 in the morning. That indicates that her cortisol levels are off, or at least it would indicate that to me. And that maybe her cortisol is doing like a little spike right in the middle of the night when it's not supposed to happen until about 6 in the morning when she's getting to the point where she's waking up. So that would be usually the culprit behind it. And this again is related to this unrelenting stress that so many of us are experiencing and just not doing anything to address it. So that's essentially why women would have trouble sleeping.
I talk about that hour before you go to bed, you really should unwind, disconnect from the TV. And what I do is I get I've got lately some essential oils, and I put them with a cream, and I actually start massaging my feet so that it can ground my energy, because they're so in our head.
Yes.
I think trying to go into the bedroom and then with our head shattering and still trying to play the whole world, how do we expect to go to sleep?
I know.
So you could, I also take a shower before. I have some sea salt scrub that I love to put on my body.
Nice.
And then do that foot massage, especially if you really are challenged to sleep, because you need to ground your body, and then that's the perfect time for a little more self-love, writing in your journal, maybe 9, because 9 is a very auspicious number in Feng Shui, 9 gratitude statements of your day. But if you can come down from, is there anything from a supplement-wise that women can do?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. There are a couple of things, actually, especially if you do relate to what I just said about a feeling that maybe you have high cortisol or dysregulated cortisol. One of the big ones is magnesium. So so many of us are deficient in magnesium, and unfortunately, it is required for well over 300 processes in our bodies. I think it's about nearly 80% of the U.S. population is deficient, and I'm sure, I was just saying this today actually to somebody else, I'm sure it's like a worldwide phenomenon, it's not just us. And the problem with that, the reason for that is just because of deficiency in food. So magnesium is a great one. The brand that I love is Natural Calm. It's a powder you mix with a couple ounces of water and drink it. women tell me all the time, and from my experience too, drinking it before bed really calms you down. It's one of those minerals that just like reduces stress, reduces feelings of stress. So it's really great for that. It also helps with any kind of bowel issues. So anybody who has chronic constipation, I know I had to go there. Magnesium really helps with that. So, and I know I said it because so many women do. So magnesium is a great one. Another one another herbal supplement for high cortisol is rhodiola. So rhodiola, yeah, it's proven repeatedly to help with high cortisol levels. So I think rhodiola would be another option too. I think those two are really good.
I do, and actually I've been taking magnesium for a couple of years now, and I know it helps with my PMS. Yeah. It does help with regularity, and we know that if you ladies have a lot of cramps and stuff like that, that if you're not regular, that's going to create, and that's a whole other story for us to talk about, but that creates a big problem with cramps, PMS. So, and I do the rhodiola with a product called Catechol from the Diadamo Personalized Nutrition line that helps me as an O blood type, takes off my stress. And let me tell you, when those days, like I know where I'm at lack, I'm taking that Catechol, and that it's got the rhodiola in it.
Right.
And that makes such a difference for me.
Good.
It just helps. So I know the magnesium. Now, do you talk about magnesium citrate?
I'm not entirely sure what kind of magnesium is in Natural Calm. I believe it is magnesium citrate because there are a couple. There's citrate and glycinate, and then there's another one too that I always forget.
I use the citrate, and it is very helpful. Just be careful if you. I will just give it as a warning. If you are already a regular person, don't take too much.
Exactly. Yes. One serving. Yeah, one serving. I agree with that completely. And that's the other thing, like you said too, it really helps with, just as it helps with our bowels, those muscles, it helps with our uterine muscles as well. It helps to relax them and reduce cramping. So that's another great aspect of it.
Cool. So we're only coming down to the time frame here, but there's one more question. Let's talk about sex and our libido, and again, I want to go back to the bedroom, and I want all the electronics out.
Yes.
It's always about the environment too. Make yourself feel sexy. Put on that sexy lingerie, or put on some sexy music. Scented oils. Get out. Those are the nights you have the sexy, bedroom sheets out. But what happens when we've got that all set up, and again, our body's kind of like just not there?
Yeah. Oh boy, I know. I mean, that's, it's so funny. It seems to be an epidemic, this whole lack of sex drive situation that's happening. It's so unfortunate because we're made to do this a lot and it's not happening. And so I really love all of the things that you do. I'm sure that all of that is tremendously helpful, but I agree that at the end of the day, for some women, it does come down to a hormonal issue. And so it could be that that a woman has low testosterone, because testosterone is primarily responsible for sex drive. And so if we have low testosterone, which can happen for a number of different reasons, then we may have issues with sex drive. And the main cause of low testosterone is unfortunately the birth control pill for a lot of women. And the reason for that is because most pills that women are on today are the low dose pills, and they're providing a very small amount of estrogen and testosterone to our bodies. And so the problem with that is that our bodies may need more in order to function at the level they're supposed to. So if we're not getting the right amount, then it's just going to completely kill our sex drive and our juiciness. And so that's essentially what typically happens with women who've been on the pill or who are on the pill. And the problem with it too is that it can last the side effects of that can last for a long time. So that's what I found is the most prevalent reason for low sex drive. And then of course stress. When your mind is so full of all these other things, who has room to even think about that, right? And I'm sure you probably have that happen, or your clients say that to you all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also I think the masculine and the feminine.
Yes.
It's because we have become so much more of a powerful woman these days, or the career woman, that I hear it all the time. I was listening to a recording where Marianne Williamson was talking about, gosh, I can't remember the person, the study that was done, but basically says that it takes 30 minutes for the mind to shift out of the masculine into the feminine. So when a woman comes home from work, she should really do some yoga that time, do journaling, take some time, because she needs that 30 minutes to come out of her masculine energy and get into her feminine energy. And I think that's what happens to so many women. They try to have sex, but they're still in their masculine mind, thinking about, I should be this, I should be in control. And the masculine and the feminine, the guy is the masculine energy, and that's your time to be that feminine self.
Totally. I love that. I'm totally stealing that from you.
So, you know, that's so important. Like, even when you go out on a date or something, you know, you maybe take a bath or you put on some, you know, sexy lingerie. Ladies, come on, you know, they got to have some sexy lingerie in your, you know, I know it's not comfortable all the time. Trust me, I have my comfortable underwear and then I got the sexy underwear.
Totally.
But you need to be putting something on and get into that energy. And that's why, too, in the bedroom, you want to look at it so that it's not so masculine or overly feminine. You know, it's the yin and the yang, which I know you know very well with Chinese medicine. So is there anything women can do supplement-wise to help that, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough. I think that it, you know, again, hormones, you know, they don't exist in a vacuum. They tend to, you know, they all work together. And so when there is one imbalance, there's typically another or a couple of imbalances. And so what I have found with raising testosterone or raising sex drive, there is one, and I'm cautious about recommending it because, you know, people tend to take too much. But also it can have an effect on our thyroids as well, and that's maca. I don't know if you've heard of it or not, but maybe you have.
ACA?
MACA.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's basically a root that's grown in the Andes in South America. It's very popular now. A lot of women take it. The problem is with maca is that it can act as a goitrogen. Which means that it can hinder your thyroid function. It can actually hinder your thyroid from creating the thyroid hormones that it needs to create so that you have energy and you function well. I've also found, too, that women with low sex drive tend to have thyroid issues. So it is something, you know, again, it's all connected. And so it's a lot more complicated than just doling out, you know, advice on a supplement or, you know what I mean? It's just that kind of thing. So, and that's the problem, is that we take little bits here and there and we try them and we're not sure how much to take, that kind of thing. But with maca, I suggest it to try. I would say, you know, try it for a couple of months and see how it goes, but only take 1/4 teaspoon. So literally like 1,000 milligrams a day at the most, just to try and see if it does work. But it usually helps a lot of women with any kind of low sex drive. Also, I would recommend, too, I don't know tons about this. It's something that I'm starting to learn about, orgasmic meditation. I don't know if you've heard of that, but I hear that it is quite effective. And, you know, again, it's not anything that's going to harm your health. So it's always great to try practices versus crazy herbal things that you don't really know whether they work or not. Maca has been shown to work well, so that's why I would recommend that to women if they want to try it. But the orgasmic meditation is a whole other ballgame, and I don't see why anybody wouldn't try it. Yeah, I know, right? And you can even do it with your partner, so it's a whole process. But I think that women should look into both of those things if they are trying to get their mojo back.
Yeah, even things like belly dancing. Bollywood dancing. I mean, anything that's going to get those hips, second chakra moving, I think, because that's where the energy becomes stagnant. I know you're a big component of acupuncture. Mm-hmm. That opens up. But I agree with you, and I really want to stress this to women. When it comes to hormones, don't really try to do it on your own. Mm-hmm. I really think you need to talk to someone. And Nicole, I know you do this every day. Full of knowledge, and I want you to share with the ladies how I can work with you, and also talk about your new program at Christine Bove.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. So I have private clients that you can come and see me privately, as well as group programs that I offer intermittently throughout the year. I think I'm going to launch another one in September. But right now I've just launched a 4-week home study program. So this is where women can sign up for a program and do it on their own, at their own pace. It's hosted all online, and then they, of course, have access. They have access to us via email, and then our Facebook group where there's a whole lot of conversating going on about orgasmic meditation and things like that. So that's what I've just launched, and it's available on my site, and any woman who goes to the website will be able to click on my services and find the home study program there and purchase it if they would like to do that.
Cool. And your website is called?
Oh, yeah, that helps. It's thehealthyelements.com. So it's thehealthyelements.com.
And I'm going to list all this information below the video so they'll have it in, this 4-week program. And, ladies, this is really an eye-opening for many of you because maybe you weren't aware of this stuff, and I hope you really enjoyed the conversation that we were having. To also see that if to improve your health, to make a change in your life, you have to take responsibility. And you don't just change one area, you're changing everything. So your environment, your image, your health, what you're taking internally. And the best advice I could say is that everyone is unique. So one process may work for that person, and another process may work for them. So if you can't figure it out on your own, ask for help and really find a process that combines all different techniques that work for you. And I hope you were able to, introduce you into 2 different systems, showing you how important it is and how to become aware of you have the chance to make a change in your life. And, it's up to you. And it's hard, right, Nicole? It's not easy. You talked about this last week.
I know. I mean, it's not, absolutely. It's not, I don't think it's hard necessarily, but it takes effort. And it definitely takes someone being present.
So do you want to add any last comments before we close off?
Not really. I would just say that, I really think that it's a situation. I think nowadays many women find themselves in a situation where they are no longer getting answers that, valid answers from mainstream medicine, from their doctors. And that's just because medicine only goes so far, and there are a limited number of answers that you're going to get. And they're now starting to really take their health into their own hands, just like what you were talking about. And that takes a lot of, personal responsibility. But I think it's really happening because, this one-size-fits-all medicine isn't working anymore. And so I love what you're doing, and I really think that it's a perfect complement to what I do, in that, you're addressing the sort of external environment, whereas I'm sort of addressing the internal environment. And again, I think that it's amazing that women are at this point now where, they're starting to look outside of traditional methods to healing, and they're using services like yours and like mine. And so that's pretty much it. Those are my 2 cents.
All right. Well, thank you, Nicole, for all your knowledge and expertise. And ladies, if you really like this, because I feel like there's so much more I want to talk about, go into more stuff. Maybe we can plan some more calls.
I know. Together. I think we need a series. Awesome.
All right. Thank you, ladies.
Thanks. Thank you.
Bye.